Okay, so the characters for this story are me, male 16, half brother, male 16 but 10 months younger, dad, male 46, mom, female 42. So my parents are divorced and have been since I was about 1 year old. This was because my mom cheated on my dad, and her baby came out with a hair color that should not have been a possible combination of my parents' hair colors. And a paternity test confirmed that the baby wasn't my dad's. When they divorced, they made around the same amount of money, and their possessions more or less equaled their debt. So after the divorce, each of them pretty much broke even, and there was no alimony involved. Now, my dad has no debt and makes well over $150K per year as a pilot, while my mom works minimum wage. Both of them are still single, and they have 50-50 custody. The issue here is that I have an iPhone 11 Pro Max, an Alienware laptop, and my dad recently gave me his 2015 Corvette Stingray for passing my driver's test in good grades, and various other small things, while my half-brother has an iPhone 5C, a Windows Laptop 7, and no car because my mom is poor. My mom tells me that I have to share my phone and laptop with my brother, but I told them I ain't going to let him use my phone or laptop because I'm usually using them either for schoolwork or to game with my friends, and because I have very personal things on them. She also demanded that I let her hold on to my car keys. When I asked her why, she just avoided the question and said that it's unfair that the kids from school know that you have a car while your brother doesn't. But the last time she got her hands on my keys, she tried withholding them from me as punishment for something petty. Let my half-brother use it to get to school. This lasted for almost a week before I wrestled them off of him in the school washroom. I declined my mom's request because the car legally belonged to my dad, and because why would I willingly give her leverage against me? After this, my mom just kicked me out of the house. So I drove over to my dad's place for the night, to which she responded by calling the police to bring me back because she had custody of me now. Now she is just arguing stupid things like, "Your dad ruined you," or "Your dad is just using his duck you money as a thorn in her and my half-brother's back," or something, and that I'm basically a bad person for accepting those gifts from my dad. But the way that I see it is that when my dad gave me those things, then he was giving them to me, and not my mom or half-brother, and I am under no obligation to share it with them because they are mine, and because it would be blatantly disrespectful to my dad because of what my mom did, and why my half-brother came to be. So, am I the a-hole for accepting these things from my dad while my mom and half-brother are poor? Not the a-hole, but you should talk to your dad. You're at the age where you can choose which parent you want, and courts will take that into consideration. Damn, your mom got it on with the milkman weeks after you were born. That's some serious cuckoldry. Edit. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. And to put it bluntly, if she wants your brother to have nice things, then she should go after his father to provide them. I would say show some sympathy for your brother, but I get the vibe that there is some favoritism at play towards him because you have nice stuff. I doubt your dad is giving you nice things to duck over your mom. Imagine having to research everything you buy to make sure it's mediocre enough not to offend. Hang in there for the time being. Your mom's hang-ups are not your problem. Edit. He is old enough to get a job at this point, so he could provide the nicer things for himself too. If you feel like you owe your brother anything, then help him with transportation for work until he can get his own car. I work for a small nonprofit. We're 2 full-timers and 3 part-timers. I've worked there about 3 years. My new boss was hired 7 months ago and moved to the city from out of state for the job. Boss has a 12-year-old daughter who stayed with her mother. She finally got to come for a visit by herself for 2 weeks, and it coincided with a lot of events we had already planned, and as the boss has to attend. Boss has made it clear up to this point how annoying these conflicts are, even though the event dates were set before the visit. So the characters are me, child-free, 26 female, boss, 50s male, coworker 1, 40s male, with 3 sons, 12 to 17, coworker 2, 50s female, with 2 or 3 kids, 10 to 17. Boss gets an email from a partner organization asking for a donation to their silent auction a week away. She mentions in the email that if Boss wants, she could get him a seat. In the 3 years I've worked here, we've never gone to this event. But Boss has said on many occasions his favorite part about this new role was going to be rubbing elbows. Boss is picking up his daughter earlier in the week of the auction, so she'll be with him on the day of the auction. Before replying to the partner, Boss forwards email to me and coworker 1 to ask if I can handle the donation and if coworker 1 would maybe be able to either go in his place to the event. 6-ish hour drive both ways, and the time spent at the event would be half his hours for the week. Or if his daughter could do something with coworker 1's sons. Essentially, if our part-time coworker can babysit his 12-year-old. Coworker 1 says he can't do either and gives reasons why. So he couldn't secure free childcare from an employee or a fill-in for the event. But he never asked me if I could fill in at the event, and I lived about an hour closer to the town. He should probably politely turn down the invitation. Nope. Boss replies saying he'd love to attend. At our weekly staff meeting Monday, the event is on Thursday. He opens by saying he has a favor to ask of me or coworker 2. He explains coworker 2 what's going on, and she nicely steps up saying, of course 12-year-old can come over. I get a text today at 9 a.m. from boss saying he needs to improvise with his daughter and if he could drop 12-year-old off at my house around 4 p.m. and pick her up around 12 a.m. He says he realizes it's a long time, but wasn't aware the event was in a different time zone and that it's fine if I say no. Now, I don't really like kids. Maybe that makes me the a-hole, but it's the truth. Also, I'm still offended that he offered my male coworker to go in his place, but not me. Can't say for sure if it's sexism or him just thinking I won't want to wine and dine, but still. I say sorry, but I have plans. I don't. I ask what happened with coworker 2, but he doesn't answer. I felt a little guilty for lying afterward, since I don't know what he ended up doing with his daughter. I'm guessing he just took her with him. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your boss is an idiot for not sorting out a babysitter beforehand. Also, I note in your story he also didn't even offer payment. Babysitting children who aren't your own is not your responsibility. The worst part of this is that your boss asked you for 8 hours of your time for a work purpose without compensation. This raises a myriad of HR issues, not the a-hole. Am I the only one wondering why a 12-year-old needs a babysitter? Not the a-hole. I, 29 female, and my fiance, 31 male, were meant to get married last year, but for obvious reasons, we postponed to late 2021. My sister, 23 female, and I are from a conservative African country. The issue is our differing approaches to feminism. I love my culture, but I recognize that certain practices are harmful and need to go. I'm a very pick-your-battles person while she wants to confront and fix every issue aggressively and immediately. My parents are very traditional and expect a tribal ceremony followed by a church wedding. In the former, bride price is required unless waived, which my parents won't do. Basically, it's money or valuables paid to the woman's parents in exchange for their blessing and her hand. The older male family members of the bride and groom meet to negotiate the financial value of the woman's attributes: beauty, virginity, education, degree of religious piety, etc. It's deeply misogynistic, and while I feel very much like a cow at auction, I'm carefully picking my battles because there are things that will be standing up against. Religion, traditions I will be abandoning in upbringing of my future kids. For the record, I don't need to hear that my parents' culture are TA. I know, or that I should cancel them. I love and accept them for their many flaws, and they're pretty progressive on most other issues, and crapping on every single thing they believe in is counterproductive. Sister has been openly hostile ever since she learned I'd be tolerating this practice. She won't shut up about it, and every dress fitting and conversation since has been a nightmare. The final straw was an article she wrote in which she attacks the entire culture, calls me a hypocrite, fake feminist, doormat, coward, and backwards, among other things. I wasn't named, but we share a distinct surname, and as soon as she shared it to Twitter, our mutuals flooded my DMs. She includes untrue details, how I allegedly plan to sell my future daughters. I don't. Fiancé and I agree that the practice ends with us. Gives zero context and even says that I'm probably terrible at my job, social worker, because I'm a traitor to women's rights. I was livid when I read it and instantly uninvited her from everything. She went to our parents and they've asked me to forgive, but the more I think about it, the less I want her there. She won't apologize and has stuck to her position, so I don't understand why she even wants to attend. My friends think I'm being harsh because she's young, that she's learned her lesson, and say that I should extend the same leniency to her that I give my parents. Am I the a-hole for accepting that I don't have the power or energy to fight every battle, or that my capacity to affect change has limits. Edit for context. My parents are themselves under pressure from the grandparents. They're constantly being attacked by raising us too liberal and for straying from tradition in the small ways that they have, and are not about to cancel their parents. The exchange is ceremonial and for the benefit of the older relatives who simply can't be changed at this point. My parents will be quietly returning the money to my fiancé and I without our grandparents knowing. This, together with the fact that I just have to suffer through this one practice for their benefit, and that my kids will be spared the humiliation, is the only thing keeping me going. My parents also know that I will not be keeping up any more appearances for their sakes if they wish to be a part of mine and my future children's lives. This is one of those things where the only realistic solution is to educate the coming generations, as opposed to focusing on unteaching all the misogyny in the older folks. My fiancé and his family are liberal, and are all going along with it for my sake, so no, it won't happen to my kids. My sister already knew where I stand, and made it clear that regardless of what I do, she will never go through with it, and would rather not get married. She knows about the arrangement with our parents, and nothing short of a civil ceremony, devoid of even the positive aspects of the culture, will be good enough for her. She was simply counting on shaming me into changing my mind. Not the a-hole. She lied to further her article. There are boundaries to be learned, clearly some which she hasn't had the time for yet. I suggest sitting down with her once if you haven't done that before. But you can't move mountains. She will have to respect your covert choice. It is your choice after all, the highest goal of feminism, right? Not the a-hole. She could ruin your whole day. I understand wanting to pick your fights. I understand wanting to keep your relationship with your parents. And I understand how hurtful this must be. I am happy to read that you have decided that this ends with you. Unfortunately, by following this tradition, you are also making your sister look bad if she refuses. That is not something you should have to think about at all, but I understand why it would hurt your sister. And I think you should sit down and really talk with her about this. And also make it clear that when and if she ever wants to get married, you will stand behind her no matter what she decides. She needs to know that she wouldn't lose her family by choosing differently than you. 4 months ago, my ex-boyfriend's dad passed away unexpectedly from a stroke. We had been dating for 2 years. I'm 22, he's 25. His family is not financially stable, and my ex worked really hard to be financially independent since he was a teenager. When his dad died, we found out that there was no insurance or funeral coverage. There was no way his family could afford the funeral. At the time, he was saving to buy a house, and knowing that he would need to provide 3 months of bank statements and account for all of his outgoings in his mortgage applications, he asked if I could lend the money, and he would pay me back as soon as his application was completed in a few weeks. It didn't even cross my mind to worry whether he would pay me back, because he was my boyfriend and is so financially responsible. I gave him almost all of my savings, 12,500 AUD. 2 weeks after the funeral, he tells me that he has been sleeping with another girl for months, and she was there for him after his dad's death, so he thinks he owes it to her to give their relationship a chance. Almost his exact words. Needless to say, I was devastated, so I packed my stuff and left. There was some limited contact over the next few weeks about a couple of things that were still at his house. Some of his stuff was in my car, etc., but no discussion of the money. Last month I ran into his sister, and she mentioned that he was going to an auction, so I realized his mortgage application must have gone through now. I really hate asking people for money, so I had been hoping the money would just appear in my account one day, or he would initiate the discussion about it. I'm still in uni, and because I'm not an Australian citizen, I can't get a student loan, so I have to pay for all of my uni fees myself. I'm a regular broke uni student, and unfortunately don't have a rich relative I can ask for help. This semester, fees are due at the end of the month, and there's no way I will be able to pay for them without my savings. Since seeing his sister, I've messaged him a half a dozen times with no response. This morning I was finally able to get him on the phone, and he was so angry. He yelled at me saying that I was cold and vindictive for bringing up his father's death when he was still trying to come to terms with it. He said he doesn't need to be harassed about his father's inability to provide for his family. I didn't know what to say. I lost respect for him because he cheated, but he's not an aggressive person, so my asking for the money multiple times must have really hurt him. I don't know what to do. He's not a bad person, and I can't put this kind of financial stress on his family. So, do I just have to let it go? Am I a complete a-hole if I keep asking, knowing that it seems to have such a terrible negative impact on his mental health? I need the money, but I can't be responsible for making him as upset as he was on the phone this morning. It was like he was a different person. Oh my God, you are not the a-hole. He asked you for the money knowing you'd give it to him, all whilst he was cheating. What a horrible man. He's clearly guilt-tripping you through the unfortunate passing of his father. Do not let this money go. This is your life savings. Not the a-hole. This isn't a not the a-hole problem. This is a legal problem. You gave someone a loan and they have to pay it back. You should contact an attorney. That's a decent amount of money where I'm from, at least. Not an amount I'd just be willing to let go. Not the a-hole. He asked you to lend him money. You have a right to expect him to pay you back. He should honor this commitment before going to auctions. Also, he cheated on you, and now he wants to play the victim? He doesn't get to play the dead dad card and move on with his life while you suffer.